She used to believe that life followed simple rules. If you were kind, people would be kind to you. If you worked hard, things would work out. If you trusted carefully, you would be safe. She was wrong. Before everything changed, she was just a girl living an ordinary life. She woke up early, helped at home, worried about small things, and dreamed quietly about a better future. She wasn't famous. She wasn't powerful. She was invisible in the way most girls are, seen, but never truly noticed. She liked calm mornings and soft music. She liked imagining a life where she could study more, stand on her own feet, and one day feel proud of herself. She believed pain belonged to other people, other stories. Then one night rewrote her life forever. That night didn't announce itself. It didn't come with danger signs or dramatic warnings. It arrived quietly, like something normal, until it wasn't. What happened to her is not something she ever wanted to remember. It's not something she could ever forget. After it was over, she sat still for a long time. Her body was shaking, but her mind felt empty, like it had left her to survive alone. She didn't scream. She didn't cry loudly. She froze. People often think survival looks brave. Sometimes survival looks silent. She went home and locked herself in the bathroom. The water ran for a long time. She scrubbed her skin until it hurt, as if pain could erase memory. But the memory stayed. It settled deep inside her, where no water could reach. That was the first night she didn't sleep. And it wasn't the last. The next morning, the world looked the same. That was the most confusing part. The sun still rose. People laughed. Life continued, completely unaware that her world had collapsed. She looked at herself in the mirror and didn't recognize the girl staring back. Her eyes looked older, tired, afraid. She felt dirty, even though she wasn't. She felt guilty, even though she had done nothing wrong. Shame wrapped around her like a second skin. At home, she acted normal. She answered questions. She ate food she couldn't taste. She smiled when she had to. Inside, she was screaming, but the scream never reached her lips. She was afraid to speak. Afraid people wouldn't believe her. Afraid they would blame her. Afraid they would look at her differently. So she carried it alone. Days passed. Then weeks. Fear became her shadow. She avoided places she once walked freely. Loud noises made her jump. Simple touches made her flinch. Nighttime became her enemy. Sleep brought nightmares, and waking up brought reality. She blamed herself quietly. Why was I there? Why didn't I stop it? Why didn't I fight harder? No one told her that freezing is a natural response. No one told her that survival is not consent. The silence around her grew heavier. People noticed she had changed. You're so quiet. You seem distant. You should smile more. They didn't know that smiling felt like betrayal, to herself. At night, she cried into her pillow so no one would hear. Sometimes she didn't cry at all. Sometimes she just stared at the ceiling, feeling nothing. That scared her more than the tears. Because numbness felt like disappearing. There were moments, dark, quiet moments, when she wondered if it would be easier to stop existing. Not because she wanted to die, but because she was so tired of carrying pain alone. She wanted peace. She wanted the girl she used to be. But trauma doesn't politely leave. It stays. It settles into your thoughts, your body, your breath. The world expected her to move on. But healing doesn't follow deadlines. One day, after holding everything inside for too long, she reached her breaking point. Her hands were shaking. Her chest felt tight. She realized she couldn't survive like this forever. That's when she told someone. Her voice trembled. The words came out broken and slow. She expected disbelief, judgment, blame. But instead, she was believed. That moment didn't erase the pain, but it cracked the loneliness. For the first time since that night, she felt seen. Healing didn't come suddenly. It came in fragments. Therapy sessions. Long conversations. Silent support. Some days were strong. Some days felt worse than before. Progress wasn't straight. But it was real. She learned that what happened to her did not define her worth. She learned that her body was not something to be ashamed of. She learned that surviving made her brave, even when she didn't feel brave. The sadness never completely disappeared. Some memories still hurt. Some nights were still heavy. Some fears still lingered. But slowly, she began to breathe again. She began to reclaim small things, walking outside, laughing without guilt, dreaming without fear. She began to believe that her life was still hers. Today, she carries invisible scars. She is softer in some ways, stronger in others. She doesn't trust easily, but when she does, it is real. She doesn't speak loudly, but when she speaks, her voice matters. Her story is sad, but it is also powerful. Because she survived something that should have destroyed her, and she is still here. This is not a story meant to shock. This is not a story meant to entertain. This is a reminder. Behind many quiet faces are stories you will never know. Behind many silences are battles already fought. And sometimes, the bravest people are the ones who survive quietly. The night that stole her silence. Before that night, she believed the world was mostly safe. She was an ordinary girl with ordinary dreams, finishing her studies, making her parents proud, building a quiet, happy life. She trusted easily. She believed people when they smiled. That trust changed everything. What happened to her did not happen because she was careless. It did not happen because of what she wore, where she went, or what she said. It happened because someone chose to hurt her. After that night, nothing felt the same. She walked the same streets, but they felt unfamiliar. She sat in the same room, but it felt smaller, like the walls were closing in. Her body was there, but her mind kept running back to the moment she wished she could erase. The pain followed her everywhere. Not loud pain. Quiet pain. The kind that lives behind the eyes. The kind that wakes you up at night. The kind that makes you flinch at simple touches. People noticed she had changed. You're so quiet these days. You don't smile like before. But no one asked why, and she didn't know how to explain. Words felt too heavy. The truth felt dangerous. She was afraid of being blamed, doubted, judged. So she stayed silent. At home, she acted normal. She ate meals she couldn't taste. She answered questions with short replies. At night, she locked her door and cried into her pillow, biting her lips so no one would hear. She felt dirty, even though she wasn't. She felt guilty, even though she had done nothing wrong. That was the cruelest part, how the pain made her blame herself. She replayed the night again and again, wondering what she could have done differently. The questions never stopped. They exhausted her more than the tears. Some days, she felt strong. Other days, she could barely get out of bed. She stopped trusting people. She stopped believing compliments. She stopped feeling safe in her own skin. Mirrors became difficult. Crowds became terrifying. Smiles became masks. The world expected her to move on. But trauma doesn't follow schedules. Healing was slow and lonely. There were moments she wanted to disappear, not because she wanted to die, but because she wanted the pain to stop. She wanted peace. The girl who carried too much. When she was little, she believed life was fair. She believed that if you were kind, the world would be kind back. That if you loved people, they would stay. That pain was temporary and happiness was something everyone reached eventually. No one told her that some people grow up learning pain before joy. Her earliest memories were warm, her mother's hands brushing her hair, the smell of tea in the evenings, soft laughter filling their small home. Those moments felt permanent to her then. She didn't know how fragile happiness could be. When her mother fell sick, everyone said she would recover. She's strong, they said. She'll be fine, they promised. But promises don't always keep people alive. The day her mother died, the world did not stop. Cars still moved. People still talked. The sun still rose the next morning. That confused her more than the loss itself. How could the world continue when hers had ended? At 12 years old, she learned her first cruel lesson. Grief is invisible to everyone except the person carrying it. Her father changed after that. Not in anger, just in absence. He worked longer hours, came home exhausted, and spoke only when necessary. He loved her, but love weighed down by grief becomes quiet, distant, unsure of itself. So the girl learned to be independent too early. She learned to make her own meals, to solve her own problems, to swallow her tears before they escaped. When she missed her mother, she stared at the photograph on the wall and whispered things she wished she could say out loud. School became her escape, and her prison. Teachers praised her silence. Such a good girl, they said. Classmates forgot to invite her places. She wasn't bullied. She wasn't included either. She existed in between, noticed just enough to be ignored. Inside, she was screaming. But she smiled anyway. As the years passed, sadness settled into her bones like something permanent. It wasn't dramatic. It didn't explode. It simply stayed. A quiet heaviness she carried everywhere. She wanted to dream like other girls. She wanted to imagine a future where she was happy, successful, loved. But every time she tried, doubt whispered louder than hope. What if it doesn't work out? What if you fail? What if you're not enough? Those thoughts became her constant companions. At family gatherings, relatives compared her to others. She's doing better. She's married now. She earns more. Each sentence cut a little deeper, even when spoken casually. She nodded politely, smiling, pretending those words didn't follow her home and echo in her mind at night. She grew tired of explaining herself, tired of defending her choices, tired of pretending she wasn't hurting. So she stopped talking about her dreams. She became the girl who listened, the girl who helped others, the girl who stayed strong when everyone else broke down. People leaned on her, unaware that she herself had nothing left to lean on. Loneliness changed her. Not the kind where you're physically alone, but the kind where you're surrounded by people and still feel unseen. Where conversations stay shallow because no one asks how you really are. Where "I'm fine" becomes automatic, even when it's a lie. At night, she lay awake thinking about the girl she used to be. The one who laughed easily. The one who believed life would be gentle. She wondered when exactly she lost her. Some nights, tears fell without warning. Other nights, she felt nothing at all, and that scared her more. Because pain at least reminded her she was alive. She didn't want attention. She didn't want pity. She just wanted someone to notice. To notice how tired her eyes looked. To notice how forced her smile had become. To notice that her silence was asking for help. But days turned into years, and no one did. Still, she kept going. She woke up every morning, carried her sadness quietly, and faced the world with courage no one applauded. She survived heartbreaks, disappointments, and failures without ever making them anyone else's problem. And that was her tragedy. Not that she was weak, but that she was strong for too long. Somewhere deep inside her, a small part still hoped. Hoped that one day someone would see past her silence. Hoped that life might soften. Hoped that the girl she used to be wasn't. She learned to be quiet. When she was a child, she used to talk a lot. She asked questions about everything. The sky, the rain, why people left, why promises were so easy to break. Her laughter filled the house once. Back then, she believed life was kind. But life has a way of teaching lessons without mercy. Her mother died when she was 12. One day she was there, brushing her hair and telling her stories, and the next day she was just a photograph on the wall. The house became quieter after that. Not peaceful, just empty. Her father tried to be strong, but grief made him distant. He worked longer hours, spoke fewer words, and slowly forgot how to notice his daughter's silence. Food appeared on the table. Clothes were clean. But love felt absent. So the girl learned to take care of herself. At school, she sat in the back row. Teachers saw her as well-behaved. Friends saw her as shy. No one saw the heaviness she carried every day, the weight of feeling invisible. She stopped sharing her feelings because every time she tried, she felt ignored or misunderstood. People told her, "Be strong." They didn't realize strength was the reason she was tired. Nights were the hardest. She lay awake listening to the ticking clock, replaying memories she wished she could forget. She missed her mother's voice. She missed being held. She missed feeling safe. Sometimes tears rolled silently into her pillow. She cried quietly, not because she didn't want comfort, but because she had learned not to expect it. As she grew older, life didn't get easier. Responsibilities came early. Dreams came late, and left quickly. She wanted to study more, to become something meaningful. But financial struggles, family pressure, and endless comparisons crushed her confidence. Every failure felt like proof that she wasn't enough. People around her moved forward. Marriages, careers, happiness. She stayed behind, smiling politely, clapping for others, hiding her own broken heart. The saddest part wasn't the pain. It was the loneliness. Being surrounded by people but feeling like no one truly knew her. Being asked, "Are you okay?" and answering, "I'm fine," because explaining felt pointless. Over time, she forgot how to talk about herself. She forgot how to ask for help. She became the listener, the supporter, the strong one, while slowly falling apart inside. One evening, she stood by the window as rain fell softly outside. The city lights blurred through her tears. She wondered if her absence would even matter. She wondered if anyone would notice if she stopped trying so hard to exist. She didn't want to die. She just wanted the pain to stop. She wanted someone to see her, not her smile, not her silence, but the real her. The tired girl who had been brave for far too long. And maybe one day someone will. Until then, she keeps going. Not because life is easy, but because somewhere deep inside, a small part of her still hopes that things might change. Completely gone. Until then, she walked forward, slowly, quietly, bravely, carrying more than anyone ever knew. The girl who smiled quietly. She was the kind of girl who smiled even when her heart was tired. From the outside, her life looked normal. She went to school, helped at home, and laughed with friends when she had to. But inside, she carried a sadness she never spoke about. Her mother passed away when she was young. After that, the house felt empty, even when it was full of people. Her father worked all day, exhausted and distant. No one noticed how quiet she had become. At night, she would sit by the window, watching the streetlights flicker, wondering why she felt so alone in a world full of people. She had dreams once. Big dreams. She wanted to study, to travel, to be someone important. But life slowly taught her to lower her expectations. Every time she tried to speak about her pain, she felt like a burden. So she stopped talking. She learned to cry silently, so no one would ask questions. The saddest part was not that she suffered. The saddest part was that she thought she deserved it. One day, she disappeared, not physically, but emotionally. She still walked, talked, and smiled. But the girl she used to be was gone. And no one noticed. Until her smile finally faded. Her voice was not broken. She was 19 when the world she knew quietly collapsed. Before that night, her life was simple. College classes, dreams of independence, small joys she never thought she could lose. She trusted people easily. She believed danger always came with warning signs. She was wrong. What happened to her was not her fault. It was not because of her clothes, her smile, or her silence. It happened because someone chose to hurt her. Afterward, the pain was not only physical. It lived in her thoughts, her sleep, her fear of everyday places. The world continued as if nothing had changed, but she felt like she had stopped existing. Some people asked questions that wounded her even more. Why were you there? Why didn't you fight back? They didn't understand that survival is not weakness. For a long time, she stayed quiet. Silence felt safer than being judged. But silence was heavy, and it slowly began to crush her. Healing did not come overnight. It came in small steps, therapy sessions, tears she finally allowed herself to cry, and one brave moment when she told her story out loud. That moment changed everything. She learned she was not broken. She learned that surviving made her strong, not shameful. She learned that her voice mattered. Today she speaks, not to relive the pain, but to remind others they are not alone. She speaks for those who are still afraid. She speaks because silence protects the wrong people. She is not defined by what happened to her. She is defined by how she stood up afterward. This is not a story about violence. This is a story about courage, survival, and hope. Time did not heal her in the way people promised it would. Time didn't erase memories. It didn't soften every edge. It didn't magically make things okay. What time did was teach her how to live with the pain. Some mornings she woke up feeling almost normal. She made tea, watched sunlight enter the room, and for a moment forgot what her body remembered. Those mornings felt fragile, like glass, beautiful, but easily shattered. Other mornings were heavier. On those days, getting out of bed felt like a battle she had already lost. Her chest felt tight. Her thoughts felt crowded. She questioned herself constantly. Why am I still like this? Why haven't I healed yet? People told her, be strong. They didn't know she had been strong every single day since that night. Healing was lonely. Even surrounded by people, she often felt isolated. Friends talked about normal problems, relationships, plans, small frustrations. She listened carefully, nodded, smiled. But inside, she felt separate, like she was watching life from behind glass. She wondered if she would ever feel truly normal again. Crowded places still made her anxious. Certain sounds froze her body before her mind could catch up. Sometimes a simple smell or voice pulled her back into memories she didn't invite. Trauma was not logical. It didn't ask permission. She felt angry sometimes. Angry at the person who hurt her. Angry at a world that made survivors feel ashamed. Angry at herself for still hurting. But anger scared her, because she had been taught to stay quiet, polite, small. So she swallowed it. There were moments when she questioned her worth. When she felt broken beyond repair. When she thought love might never feel safe again. On those nights, she sat alone, hugging her knees, whispering reminders to herself. You survived. You're still here. This pain is not your fault. Some nights, the reminders worked. Some nights, they didn't. Slowly, with help, she began to understand something important. Healing was not about forgetting. It was about learning to feel safe again, in her own body, in her own life. She started therapy. At first, she barely spoke. Silence felt safer than words. But little by little, she began to tell her story. Not all at once, not in detail, but piece by piece. Each time she spoke, her voice shook less. Each time she spoke, the weight lifted just a little. She learned that what happened to her did not make her weak. It revealed how strong she had been all along. She learned that survival looks different for everyone, and all of it is valid. There were setbacks. Days when memories came back stronger. Days when she felt like she was moving backward instead of forward. Healing was not a straight line. It curved, looped, and sometimes felt endless. But she kept going. She started writing in a notebook, thoughts she couldn't say out loud. Pages filled with anger, sadness, fear, and slowly, hope. Writing gave her control over her story again. She began to set boundaries. To say no. To protect her peace. That wasn't easy, especially for someone who had learned to stay silent, but it was necessary. She learned that her body belonged to her, that her voice mattered, that her story deserved to be heard. One day, she realized something surprising. She laughed. It wasn't forced. It wasn't polite. It came from somewhere real. The sound startled her at first, then made her cry, because it reminded her that joy was still possible. She didn't become fearless. She became brave. Bravery didn't mean the absence of fear. It meant choosing to live despite it. She began to speak up, not loudly, not publicly at first, but honestly. She corrected victim-blaming comments. She supported others quietly. She listened when someone else shared their pain. She realized how many people carried stories like hers. Too many. The sadness never fully disappeared. It softened, changed shape, became something she could carry instead of something that carried her. She still had hard days. She still had scars. But she also had resilience, earned, not given. Today, she walks carefully, but confidently. She knows her limits. She respects her healing. She understands that strength does not always look powerful. Sometimes it looks like rest, boundaries, and choosing to stay. Her life is not defined by one night. It is defined by every morning she chose to keep going. This story is not about violence. It is about survival. It is about the quiet courage of girls who endure what they never deserved, and still choose to live. Crescent Moon closing message for video outro. Some survivors don't tell their stories because they are weak. They stay silent because the world hasn't learned how to listen. Be kind. Believe survivors. Protect the vulnerable.